Okay, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining. So we are about to begin um, Key to Redemption, episode 29. And this is the Dvar Malchus, the talk the Rebbe gave on Parshas Lecha, which is got to be one of my favorites. Very, very powerful. Very powerful. And what's so amazing over here is that, part of Mashiach, of the shift that we all need to make from the exile consciousness to the redemption consciousness, is that we need to go out of constricted vision and constricted, um, the satisfaction with this, with achievements or attainments or aspects that kind of we're accustomed to, and we have to have a much greater appetite and a much greater perspective and much higher yearnings and much higher desires and much higher reaching for far greater accomplishments. And I think part of what this talk does, is that it stretches the mind and it stretches our hearts and our entire being to see things in its full expansivity. And in that sense, what we've always thought we have already, we realize that it's only a tiny, tiny drop of the bucket. It can't even be considered having anything. And therefore, we get excited and inspired that the good and the greatness is all yet to come. That all the spiritual attainments and whatever we've done in terms of Torah and all that we've got, we haven't even started yet. And this is what this sikha is all about, plus a whole very deep understanding and the connection of the Jewish people to the promised land, to the land of Israel, why it is so vital to our mission, and why it is so vital to the world. And obviously we can therefore understand why the world is so challenged regarding this particular thing of the Jewish people's ownership in the land of Israel. So let's not talk about it. Let's go straight to it. So in chapter 1, the Rebbe says like this: Parshas Lecha is a very general parsha. It's a very fundamental parsha, because this Torah portion begins the era of Avraham Avinu, Abraham, our father. And the story of the Jewish people begin in this chapter. It starts with, really Avraham Avinu is mentioned already last week's Torah portion, the end of Parshas Noach, when Avram is born, but and then that's his life until 75, but scarcely 5-6 verses. Doesn't say much. The real story of the narrative of Abraham and his wife begins when they're 75, and it begins when Hashem commands Avram Avinu to leave his homeland and travel to the Holy Land, to what we call the Promised Land, the land of Israel. So that's the first commandment to the first Jew. Now, what else does it say there? God commands him to go. How Avram Avinu fulfills that commandment. How he travels in the various places of the land of Israel. Once he's in the land, God keeps on making promises to him again and again and again that this land I am going to give to your children. And this will be for your children forever and ever. Further on in the Torah portion, we read about the covenant between the pieces called the Bris Bein Absarim. God makes a deep covenant with Abraham. And over there as well, he promises him, to your children I will give this land. And finally, in the end of the Torah portion, you have the circumcision, and how Avram Avinu fulfilled the mitzvah of the circumcision, and which this circumcision optimizes or brings to the fullest extent the covenant that God makes with his children, with the Jewish people. The Jewish people become fully actualized as God's people in this world. And that's what Hashem says. This is the covenant that I make between you, between myself and between you, and between your children after you. This shall be a covenant engraved in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. So, since all of this, the promise to Hashem to give the land of Israel to the Jewish people, and the circumcision, and Abraham traveling to the land, since these are the first aspects that are mentioned in the Torah regarding the Jewish people. This is our beginning story. This is the first chapter in the book, if we might say, about the Jewish people. So we have to say that these are all fundamental concepts. In other words, these are not little details, but in these stories and in this content, or in this subject, or in the meaning of taking possession in the land, and this story and this objective of the Jewish people taking possession of the land, in this lies the core essence of what Judaism is all about, what the Jewish people are supposed to bring to the world. This is our foundation. So this is a very, very, very fundamental Torah portion. Okay? So now we need to understand, what is that? What are the fundamentals over here? Okay? Other nations also have a land. The meaning that this particular land, this small piece of land somewhere in the Middle East that is so contentious and so challenged, and yet you would think, the Jewish people have to be enlightenment to the world, they have to inspire the world. Like, what is it so much about us taking possession of this piece of land? And the covenant and leading, and especially being concretized, if you might say, being like established to its fullest through the Brit Milah, through the circumcision. So to understand this, we go into chapter 2. In chapter 2, he begins with a very, very powerful question. He says, it is known that Avram Avinu, he is the real beginning. Like, with him, everything starts. The Talmud tells us, this is a passage of the Talmud in Tractate Avodah Zarah, page number 9 on the first side. Talmud tells us that all of history could be divided into 3 segments. History is divided into 3 segments. The 3 segments of history are, it means a time. The world is supposed to be for 6,000 years till it reaches its completion. 2,000 years is chaos. 2,000 years is the period of Torah in the world. 2,000 years are the days of Mashiach. So, what does that mean? 2,000 years, the world is desolate. The world is not yet a work of progress. There's just darkness and pain and horrors and a mess. Yeah, it's a mess. Then begins the repair. The repair is through the Torah. And then finally, we start seeing the fruits of our labors in the last 2,000 years. They're called the days of Mashiach. Doesn't mean that Mashiach is here already, but we start seeing a rectified world starts to emerge. But Avram Avinu, his life is at the turning point. His life is the beginning of the 2,000 years of Torah. He was actually born 52 years before the beginning of the 3rd millennium. So when he is 52 years old, the world actually starts the 2,000 years of Torah. Fine. And therefore, his life and his teachings of monotheism and so on and so forth are laying the groundwork of Torah in the world, of the rectification of the world. In addition to that, more mystically, the Holy Ari explains that in the spiritual dynamics and in the godly spheres, there is a certain unification that takes place between the heavens and the earth, between God and the creation, between, in mystical terms, HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah. Shekhinah is the mother of creation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the transcendental infinite. The purpose of creation is the fusion of the both. It's called the Yichud. So the Arizal says that this Yichud was lacking for the first 2,000 years. And when Abraham was born, he started to bring together these 2 dynamics of the infinite and the finite. He started this emergence. It begins with Avram. Primarily, it begins when Abraham was 75 years old, when Hashem tells him, Lech, Lecha, leave your land. In other words, everything that's mentioned, even the first 75 years of Avram Avinu, was still not considered part of the Torah yet. But from Abraham, in other words, even though the Torah is not going to be given to another, from Avram Avinu is going to be another over 400 years, 430 years, something like that, until the Jewish people are going to receive the Torah, quite a period of time. Yet, the beginnings of it, of the spiritual effects of the mitzvot, of the observance of the Torah, begins with Abraham. When Avram Avinu was born, not when he's born, when he's commanded by God, Lech Lecha me'aretzecha, to make this journey and to go to the promised land. So what does that mean? That means that Avram, he's like the instigator. He's the very beginning. He's the startup. He's starting it all. So the Rebbe asks a type of a question that, of course, you're not going to see in many other books. It's only the Rebbe's type of a question. But it's a simple question and a very profound question. Simple and profound at the same time. He's asking, what is the lesson for each and every one of us, practically, from the story of Avram Avinu setting off on his journey to do this? What's the question? The question is that we are way after all of this has been accomplished. We are already thousands of years into Torah observance. So we're not at the beginning of the project. We're at the very conclusion of the project. We are after like this whole beginning of the Torah. We're deep in the middle of it, not in the middle, towards the end of it. So when we read in the Torah about Avram Avinu beginning his journey, so we can obviously appreciate the greatness of this man, how he's the one who sets the tone, or he's the one who establishes the cornerstone. He's the one who lays the foundation. He's an incredible, heroic figure, someone that is our founding father, someone we can admire, someone we can maybe, look as an example. But practically speaking, the entire story is a once upon a time. It's something that happened in the past, because what Avram was doing is not something that we need to do right now, because it was done already. In other words, our work that we need to get done is way past, the work of Avram Avinu. In other words, if I'm going to study about digging the big hole in the ground in order to lay foundations, so as a story, as historical information, it's nice, but we don't need, or let's say, for example, we're going to learn about road building. That the people, the pilgrims, the ones who came to America in the early days, building roads, and how they were, doing what they were doing. In a practical sense, all the roads that the United States of America needs have already been built. It's entire infrastructure. There's no more roads. I don't know, maybe some people are still going to build some roads, but the building of roads has already been done. So if I'm reading now about the people doing it, how much do I have to invest myself in reading this if this is an old story? I might as well invest my mind and my heart into the new technology that we need to build, which that's the future, not reading about the past, although it's important to learn from the dedication and devotion of it. But on the most practical sense of what they're doing, doesn't seem to be important, because there's nothing that we're going to do that we need to do right now that is similar to what they were doing. The beginning, the cornerstones of holiness in this world have been laid a long time ago, and now it's not the time anymore for this. So now it's the finishing touches. Again, inspiration, yes. Practical lessons, no. To make the question stronger, the Rebbe says, reading the Torah is not just an information manual. You're supposed to read it in a way that you're actually living it during that time. And we're supposed to that has to be our energy, our life source. The Torah is our life. So when we read it, we're supposed to relive the experience as if it's happening right now. Especially since we know the Torah in general, any part of Torah that you learn, you should never read it as an old document. It always must be read as something fresh, as something new, as something current. Definitely, without a question, when we are reading the Torah portion in that particular time of the year that we're called to read, not while I'm choosing. I can study any part. I can study Deuteronomy now. I can study Dvarim. I can study Leviticus now. And that also should be fresh, like I've never learned it before. Especially when we're reading the Parshas HaShavua, the Parsha of the week. This is really what's supposed to be our energy. So how are we supposed to live with something that is completely outdated today because it's not necessary? That's the question. So if I'm learning about a mitzvah that still is applying today, can relive it and re-enthuse myself or excite myself, and therefore give myself over to that particular mitzvah. For instance, Torah study is a mitzvah that we always have. So when we're learning in the Torah, the mitzvah to study Torah, like you redevote yourself to learning Torah. But making the preparations for the Torah, which is what Abraham is doing, he's only making the preparations. He's not yet having the Torah. He didn't have the Torah yet. He was only doing the preparations. We're way past the preparations. So what is it for us? That's the question. Comes out, yeah. To make, now again, the Rebbe intensifies everything he builds, level after level after level, to intensify it even more. We know that not only are we holding after the giving of the Torah, but we have already received the Torah on levels upon level, upon level, upon level. What do we mean by that? It's not only that we're after the preliminary receiving of the Torah. We're after the receiving of the Torah on the highest possible levels. Why? Because we know that God gives the Torah to the Jewish people every day. It's not something that was a one-time story. God is continuously giving us the Torah. And like we say, every day it should be by you new. Why would the sages tell you if it to be by you new if it's not new? The answer it is new. Because when the blessing we make, every morning when we make a blessing on the Torah, or when we have an aliyah, we're called up to read in the Torah, we say, no, say not Torah. God is giving it to us today. Now, in addition to it being given to us daily, there is one of the holidays which we celebrate, which is Shavuot, which is the actual day that the Torah is given. And that time of the year, definitely every year, it's like given to us new. In addition to that, twice a year, we read not on Shavuot, but when we're reading Exodus, and when we are, which is Shemos, and when we're reading Deuteronomy, which is Dvarim. So 2 times in the year, we have the Torah reading itself. The portion is recounting the story of the giving of the Torah. And when we read something in the Torah, as we said earlier, you're supposed to relive it. And we're reliving it doesn't mean we make believe it's happening. It's not an enactment. It's really happening. So we can say that there are 3 major times in the year that the Torah is given to us. Once on the anniversary of the giving of the Torah, and another 2 times, even though it's not the anniversary of the giving of Torah, but it's in the Torah portion, we're reading about the giving of the Torah, and that actually makes it occur. So at every single year, we have 3 times that the Torah is giving to us on the literal sense. Plus, every day, when we read the Torah, we're supposed to see it as if it's given this day, which means every day it really is given to us. Now, why would God be giving to us something so many times if we got it already? It's ridiculous. So the answer is we have to say that every time we're receiving it and God is transmitting it on a higher level. So we're continuously going higher and higher and higher. Based on that, we're already over 3,300, I think, in 36 years now, or 35 or 36 years since the Torah was given to us. I think 35 years since the Torah was given to us. So, and in each and every day of those 3,335 years, plus 3 times in the year where there's a major new infusion. So we've like peaked out on the receiving of the Torah, received the Torah on the highest levels. And now it comes Parshas Lech Lecha, and we got to learn about the person who's making the first strides to Mount Sinai to lay the beginning of the foundation to start preparing ourselves for the giving of the Torah. Are we kidding or something? And we're supposed to live with it. We're supposed to get excited about it. You've gotten the Torah. And that's the first person making the preparation for receiving the Torah the first time. We've gotten already doubles, triples, quadruples. I don't know how you would say this. Millions of times, we've received thousands of times, hundreds of thousands of times, if you make this calculation, we've received the Torah already. And now you're talking to me as if, or to us as if we have to start our journey to Sinai. Let's follow Abraham and start doing the preliminary work with Abraham to start preparing ourselves with a 400-year preparation for the receiving of the Torah of something that is such a story of yesterday. We've had it, and we've had it even today. We've gotten it new, So why are we talking about the preparation? And most people don't ask these questions because most people don't take these ideas so seriously. But to the Rebbe, it's very serious. And he's expecting us this should be serious to us, because we should really, when we learn the Parsha, really feel that we're living with Abraham. Then on the other hand, we're supposed to feel every day that we really receive the Torah, and the two clash. If I have it already, and it's already in my pocket, I've already received and I've already integrated it and all that so many times, why are we going back to the beginning? Why are we going back to the ABC when I'm already a college graduate? Why are we speaking about the ABC again? How am I supposed to get excited about the ABC? That's the question. Now, the Rebbe is saying perhaps you can give an answer. You could say that, yeah, the reason we read this is just in case there is someone amongst us who's missed it. Someone who never studied Torah. Someone who happens to have woken up, this Israel story, the horrors that happened is shook in the core of the Jewish people. A lot of people who never studied Torah, they have really never, literally, they have, other than the fact that they're born Jewish, they never pursued anything about Judaism. And maybe now they're inspired and they come to shul. So for these people who haven't never really tuned in, this is the first time they're tuning in, it's because they missed it all the last 3,000 years. Perhaps for them, they should have a chance now to inspire themselves and begin their preparation for the receiving of the Torah. The Rebbe, however, doesn't buy that answer. In addition for that being a weak answer in general, he completely knocks it off, because he knocks off the premise that there are Jews who are not tuned in. The Rebbe says every Jew is tuned in. Why? Because when God gives the Torah to the Jewish people, he gives it to the souls of the Jewish people. Whether the people are conscious of it or not, the Torah is being delivered into the soul of every person. So spiritually, unaware people, even that are completely unaware, on a deep soul level, everything is planted to them. Everything is given to them already. Therefore, it has been already downloaded into their soul through over 3,335 times, plus the daily deliveries of the Torah. It's all in them. There's no Jew who doesn't have it. You're spiritually wealthy beyond what you can even understand. So even they are way past the ABC. Maybe consciously not, but subconsciously, yes. And therefore, and that's why, and to prove this idea that it's downloaded to every Jew, they just said, the Rebbe brings the idea that the giving of the Torah was so powerful the first time that it reached everybody. It didn't even only impact the Jewish people. It caused the entire world to shake and quake. So much so that it says that during the giving of the Torah, even birds did not chirp. The world went silent. If that's the case, it definitely impacted every soul. If it impacted even the most external aspects of this world, animals and birds. Regarding the Jewish people, regarding the souls, it says the impact of the giving of the Torah was so intense and so powerful that every time God delivered a commandment, all of Israel, all of the Jewish peoples, their souls left their bodies, led their bodies. In other words, they just passed away. God had to resurrect them. Talking about having an imprint, having an effect. It shook us so violently that it caused the soul to leave the body. So we can't say that there was even one Jew who missed the giving of the Torah and they're just a beginner. This is so fundamental in the Rebbe's look. There's no Jew that's a beginner. Maybe there are people who on the most external level have forgotten their heritage, have forgotten the enormous spiritual wealth that each and every one of them have. And if that's the case, at best you need a reminder. You don't have to start at ABC anymore. Definitely not to go back to Abraham, who's the introduction of the beginning, the pre-beginning. So in chapter number 3, the Rebbe gives an answer. And what's his answer? And he says, no, that's exactly the point. Based on what we said earlier, since the giving of the Torah is given to us continuously every year on a higher level, so the giving of the Torah is not a stagnant thing. It's something that we continuously receive higher and higher and higher and higher. So the giving of the Torah that is yet to come to us this year. First of all, the giving of the Torah that's going to happen, now it's at night, tomorrow morning, you wake up, and you start your day, and hopefully you start your day with a little bit of Torah. God will be giving you the Torah in the morning. Okay? Now, in addition to that, he'll give it to you the next day, But even more so, he's waiting for the Torah portion to be read when God gives the Torah, which is in the middle of Shemos, the middle of Exodus, Parshas Yisro. God is going to deliver the Torah in a much bigger way than he's ever done before. Then when the holiday of Shavuot comes, you're going to receive even a bigger download of Torah like you've never gotten before. And then after that is going to come Parshas Veschanan, and when we read Deuteronomy, which is after Shavuot, which is sometime in July, later in the year, when you're going to read that, or in August, or then there's going to be another giving of the Torah. So since these are all new infusions of Torah, so for this Torah that you didn't get yet, for that Torah, you got to study the ABC. You got to start from the beginning. You got to start from Abraham. You got to make your preparation. So you really are at the beginning, not for the Torah that you've received in the past, but we really need to start making preparations. And that's why a Jew is always in the preparing mode. We're always just starting because we're going to receive a bigger Torah that we've ever had, a deeper Torah, and this needs preparation. So, and how do you prepare? Who inspires us to prepare? And who teaches us how to prepare? So once a year, we encounter Abraham, and later Isaac and Jacob, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and our mothers, our beautiful mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, the four mothers of the Jewish people, and our three fathers. We emulate them, we learn with them, and they take us on the journey of the preparation that we continuously need to do for the new Torah that we're getting. Simple answer, right? That's why. So we really need to take this seriously, because we really need to feel that we're getting a higher Torah continuously. Similar, and the Rebbe brings something very, very beautiful. He said similar to, by the giving of the Torah itself. He has a phenomenal idea, a wild, such a take. It's so amazing. I mentioned earlier that by the giving of the Torah, the people passed away, and their souls flew away from their body. And they passed away, souls left their body, departed again and again. Each time God returned their soul. So the Rebbe then asked, he mentioned it actually before, which I missed it, but I'm going to say it now. He says, when you say that the people, their souls passed away, was that an accident? Like, God wants them to live, but then God kind of underestimated the power of the event. He just didn't this, and they died. Oops. And God says, oh my gosh, I'm talking to them and they died. Oh, quickly, emergency. God calls 911, get the angels back, get the souls back in the bodies. It's like, and let me ask you the question. And let's say that happened, God slipped up one time. And then so doesn't he realize that the second time that's going to happen again? And let's say after 2 times, what did he have to do it 10 times? Shouldn't he have lowered the volume a little bit? If he doesn't want it to happen. So we have to say it wasn't an accident. This is the Rebbe's look. It's not an accident. The reason they died, because when you hear God speaking to you and you receive such immense spiritual light, you have such empowerment that in one split second you can do whatever your soul needs to do in an entire lifetime. You got the ability to do it in that 1 minute. Not only did they get the ability to do it, they did it. Whatever purification in the cosmos they needed to do, which they would have, let's say God intended they live 70, 80 years or whatever it was, they did it at that moment in a split second. So they finished their work. Once the soul finishes its work in this world, the soul is ready to go home. That's why they died. They didn't die accidentally. It's because they actually finished their work. This is a phenomenal idea. I've never seen that explanation before. Their work was done. So when God puts them back in a body, so why is he putting them back in a body? It wasn't an emergency. Oh my gosh, I just ruined the whole thing. They all died. No, it was intentional. They finished. Okay, everybody come back home. So why did he bring them back? He brought them back because after they completed their work, God gave them a new mission. They completed their first mission. They got another mission. God said, you got that done. Great. Now let's go for something deeper and higher. And guess what? When God spoke to them a second time, they were able to fulfill in a second the second mission as well. And they died again, rightfully, not because they didn't even die prematurely. They finished their work and they left. It's just so wild. I never even appreciate. I learned this talk so many times. I didn't appreciate it till this moment that I'm teaching it. I really never appreciated this. So now they finished the second one. Then in the third commandment, they were given a third mission. God said, okay, I'll increase the mission. And they fulfilled that as well. Till the last commandment. And they were given a mission to do. That they were continuing to do until they passed away. So, but what do we see from here? We see from here the concept that you can be given a task, you can be given work, and then that task is upgraded to a higher level. There is more expected of you. And then you're upgraded to a higher level. So similar to that idea is the fact that God continuously gives us a Torah. When he's continuously giving us the Torah, he's obviously afterwards expecting of us a much higher response. Because if he's giving us more Torah and higher Torah, then our mission becomes greater and greater and greater. Now, if your mission becomes greater and you're receiving a higher Torah, it only makes sense to do the proper preparation. How do we do the proper preparation? Oh, that's what Parshas Lech is all about. Live together with Abraham. Go with Abraham on that journey. Go along with him. Learn how he does it. Be inspired. Extend yourself in the same way like Avram Avinu did, like our patriarchs did, so you'll be ready for the new task that you haven't gotten yet, for the new Torah that you haven't gotten yet, and you'll be ready to implement it when you get it today. And then tomorrow, you'll start over again. Really cool. Now, however, in chapter 4, he says, but really, according to this, okay, so we understand Torah is higher and there's deeper, but we can kind of say, like, come on, like most of it, what really was, the Torah was really given to us. Well, there's higher levels, we get that. And there's even higher levels, and we get that. But who are we kidding? Like the main Torah, not the higher level. The Torah was given already. These are like, additions. It's like if you download an app or you have a certain program, you buy an expensive program, I don't know, Microsoft something, Microsoft Office or Photoshop or whatever it is. You pay good money for it and you have the main download. And then continuously you keep on receiving notices that there is a upgrade for your app. Whichever app you use. Uber has an upgrade. YouTube has an upgrade. So you should download the upgrade so it will work more efficiently. But we can understand that these upgrades are minor in comparison to the initial download. So we will all say the initial download of the Torah happened back then. Abraham made the preparation, and these are small little increments that are added, additional something. But the Rebbe wants to say, no. We have to look at it. We have to step back and realize, in truth, we've hardly gotten a crumb of what really is in store for us, both regarding the Torah and regarding the land of Israel. So the Rebbe says, however, to understand this, to understand how it is in the Torah and why we need to prepare for the Torah all over again every day. And that is because what is to come is infinitely more than we've ever received. In order to appreciate that, we will first examine the same type of a question, but not regarding the Torah, but regarding the land of Israel. In the simple story of the Torah portion of Lech Lecha, Hashem tells Abraham, by the way, all the problems in the world begin this week in the Torah portion. Everything that's now an issue in this world, that's causing the world so much tremors and like what we're watching, It all begins. Had God not bothered Abraham was a happy man. Had God not bothered him and told him, hey, sir, I want you to leave your land and go to that land, the land that I will show you and I will give it to you. There would be peace in the world. Everything would be fine. All the trouble begins. He's an old man already. He's fine. He has his community. He has his friends. He's doing good. Leave him alone. Hashem doesn't leave him alone. He tells him to go to the land of Israel. And God just made the biggest problem for humanity. And you see what's going on? Bloodshed and suffering and pain and misery because of this commandment. So there's got to be something very big over here. If this is what God is insisting on, and this is where the entire story of the Jewish people begin, with them being sent to take possession of the land of Israel. But here's the Rebbe's question. Avram, the same type of question we asked regarding the Torah. Avram is actually just starting the conquest of the land. Okay, God sends him to go there, make the journey to the promised land. When he comes to the promised land, when he's there already, Hashem tells him, this is the land that I will give to your children. And when God makes a promise, we can kind of consider it done, because after all, he's God, and he promised. So at that moment, let's go back 3,000, actually I spoke before, 3,300 years was from the giving of the Torah. We'll add to that 400 years, so let's say 3,007. Abraham is doing this about between 37 to 3,800 years ago. Okay, Abraham is coming to the promised land. So he arrives there. He gets God's promise that this is the land that's yours. We would kind of think it's pretty much a done deal, right? Now, but it wasn't only that. God promises it to him a few times. And in addition to that, God tells Abraham, I want you to walk across the land. Kum and Salech, get up and walk. Go this way and go that way. According to some opinions, there's an argument about this in Talmudic discussion. What happened when Abraham actually walked across the land? Some say that constituted an actual conquest, an actual acquisition. And it wasn't anymore just a promise. It was actually became his. He was the rightful owner of that real estate because he did possession on it by walking across it. And when God is the one who tells you to do it, so you're walking across the land has the validity of a conquest. If that's the case, if we will accept that opinion, and it's a long, long, long hours already, 3,800 years already since it's ours. And the land of Israel is already called an inheritance. How long do we have it? Already for close to 4,000 years. And it's ours, the Jewish people's land. Okay, but that's not the full story. The story is Abraham passes away. God makes the promises to Isaac, same promise, to Jacob, the same promise. Fine. But then the Jewish people leave the land of Israel. We go down to Egypt, and then we become a whole nation in Egypt. God miraculously takes them out of Egypt, takes them through the desert, delays. He's supposed to take them to the promised land right away. There's some hiccups on the way, some delays, 40 years. Finally, they come to the land with miracles and wonders. Moshe has to pass away, but Joshua, Yeshua, brings the Jewish people into the land, and he actually fights the battles with God's assistance, and they win the battles. They take possession of the land. So actually, they conquered it in the literal sense through war. Now it's theirs. We were driven out of the land, and then we conquered it another time. The other time wasn't through conquest. The other time was the Persian king gave them permission to come back into the land. They came back into the land, took hold of the land again. So we went through two settlements, one conquest, and one person or our patriarchs being given this land to Abraham. Pretty much there is no other country in the world that has such a deep bond with a land like we have. Okay? As the Jewish people have. If that's the case, it's ours already. So, okay, it's ours, so fine. What's the question? Question is, so when we're reading in the Torah today, same kind of question that we had before. God is telling Abraham, Lech, Lecha, leave your land and go to the promised land. what does that mean to us practically? To go take possession of the promised land? It's ours already. The fact that Hamas doesn't like it, the fact that the Palestinians don't like it, the fact that the UN doesn't like it, the fact that this one doesn't like it or that one doesn't like it, that's irrelevant. We're talking about from the level of truth. It's ours already. So what does it mean to me today, to you today? You're Jewish. God is talking to you today, and he's telling you, you're the children of Abraham, right? Go take possession of the land. What do you mean take possession? It's ours already. It's our homeland. What's the inspiration today to go up? And God is promising it to us. I will give it to you. I will give it to you. It's ours already. What are you giving it to us? Same question we had in the Torah. Why do we have to prepare for the giving of the Torah if we have it already in our back pocket? The same question would be over here. Why do I need to go to the land and have God promising me that and telling me to take possession of it and promising me that he's going to give it to me if we have it already? And oh boy, do we have it. Now the Rebbe says, this question becomes even more fortified and stronger in the last generations. You might say, we can stop here if you're really a good question. What's supposed to be my inspiration, Lech Lecha, regarding the land? So we might present an answer and say as follows: that what? That really the land of Israel is a small location in the world. God's ultimate desire is that the entire world should become a holy world. And in that sense, the Jewish people need to make the entire world Jewish. Doesn't mean that the entire world has to be in Jewish ownership. That's not at all a Jewish ideal. We're not looking for a caliphate in which we will own the entire world. It all belongs to the Jewish people. But the morals and the ethics and the decency and the holiness and the godly blessings need to be spread across the entire world. And that means make the entire world the land of Israel. So we can say that when our inspiration from Avram Avinu go to the promised land, regarding the land of Israel, it's already done. But regarding Europe and Africa and Asia and the Americas and Australia and all the lands that there are, so these countries and these places were still commanded by God, go to the land, which land? Wherever you live, and call out in my name. Raise the banner of holiness, raise the banner of God, raise the banner of true morality and goodness across the entire world. Fix the entire world. Make all of creation, make all of the world the promised land. The Rebbe says that would be a good answer, a great answer. That would be a good answer for the people who learned the Torah 200 years ago, 700 years ago, 900 years ago, 1100 years ago, 1500 years ago, 1800 years ago, 1900, right at the beginning of the exile. We're told, come on, in a sense, it's the opposite. Leave the land of Israel, leave your land and go to the promised land, meaning make everywhere the promised land. To the land that I will show you where God will take us in the exile. That's a good lesson for Parshas Lech Lecha. How did we do it? We learn from Abraham. He went to a very non-Jewish land and made it Jewish. So make everywhere Jewish. Make everywhere holy. The reason the Rebbe says it doesn't work for our generation is because we're past that work as well. We finished that as well. And even though the fact that Mashiach is not here yet, could be there's still a little bit something that needs to be done. The Rebbe throws that in. Could be there's something. But the story of Abraham is not the story of an almost finished work. The story of Abraham is the story of the very beginning. Start the conquest of the land. Well, even regarding the entire globe, we're way past the beginning. We're, if anything, very close to the finish line. So how are we supposed to live and be excited about the beginning instruction? Fair question. The answer to all of this, chapter 5. Mind-blowing answer. When God gave Abraham, when Hashem gave Avram Avinu the land of Israel, And he told them, I will give you this land by the covenant between the pieces. God did not give Abraham, Avram Avinu, only the land of 7 nations. God gifted Avram Avinu the land of 10 nations. From God's end, the Rebbe says, he gave the entire package in one shot. He delivered the entire land to him as a gift from God, a land of 10 nations. However, at the receiving end, which means at the how Abraham started to take that land by walking across the land that we spoke earlier, and later when Joshua and Yeshua, and later in the second time we came to the land of Israel with Ezra and the Jewish people came back to the land, in those times, or at that time, we only took possession of the land of 7 nations, of 7 people, and not of 10 of the 10 nations. We only took partial possession. That means that there is still a significant part of the land of Israel that we haven't even begun to touch it. We haven't even started the conquest of that land. So we have part of it, but we don't have the whole thing. Now, even though what we have might seem as the majority, because it's the land of 7 nations, there's only 3 more, the Keni, Knizi, and Kadmoni, that it is referred to in Parshas Lech, this week's Torah portion, and later translated as the Edomite lands and the Ammon and Moab lands. I don't know exactly geographically what those lands are, but what that basically means, these are lands surrounding the land of Israel. Now, first of all, we need to know that what's called today Israel is just a small little bit of biblical Israel. Biblical Israel was much larger, even the land of 7 nations. Let alone when we add on the land of 10 nations, another 3, we're talking about far more bigger land of Israel, encompassing a lot of Jordan, I think parts of Lebanon, Syria, all the way up to Iraq. A lot greater land is part of the land that God promised to Abraham and his children. And we have a little bit of that. Now, comes out, this is the Rebbe's conclusion according to that is, since we've only taken the 7 lands and not the other 3, so then that means that there is lacking in the perfection of the acquisition of the land of Israel. And when we say it's lacking in the perfection, doesn't mean that, okay, we have a perfect land, but there is another addition that has not yet been attached. No, it means that even the 7, even the lands of the 7 are highly deficient and highly lacking because we don't have the other 3. In other words, Israel is supposed to be one unit of 10 nations, which make up the land of 10 nations. So it has the mechanics of number 10 to it, for it to be the complete perfection, for it to be the vessel, for it to receive. We're going to see later in the talk, not in today's class. We're going to learn this tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem. The added godly light and the incredible vessel that Israel is supposed to be able to receive the ultimate blessing for the world and infuse the world with higher consciousness and higher. So there's a certain element that came through when the Jews lived in the land of Israel, when they had the land of 7, but that was severely impaired, severely dysfunctional, because we did not have the other 3. When we have the other 3, the 7 that we have are also so much more powerful. So the entire Israel, we might say, was operating in terms of its spiritual energy at 20%, even though we had 70%. But overall, its energy and its infusion was 30% of what it can be when we will have all 10. But let's take that a step further, the Rebbe says. Not only is Israel lacking because the land itself is only 7 and not the full land that God promised, but in terms of Israel has a body and a soul. The body of Israel is the physical land. The soul of Israel are the Jewish people. So when the Jewish people are living in the land of it, living on the land, they activate the energy of the land. The potential of the land only works. It only comes alive when Jewish people are there. That's why we find in history an amazing thing. When Jews were not in the land of Israel, and there were always Jews there, but when the majority of the Jews were kicked out of Israel and driven into exile by the Romans, and there was sparsely some Jews there, but very little, and the land was kind of open to everybody, and people wanted it. The Muslims wanted it, and the Christians wanted it, the whole Crusaders and all that. Yet, no one was successful in cultivating the land. The land remained desolate, empty, dead land. Because the land does not respond to Gentile owners. They don't belong there, and the land refuses. The land is on strike. The soul of the land rejects it when others are there. It doesn't want to cooperate. It doesn't want to. It's sad. It's depressed. It's down. It's not into it. When Jews come onto the land, the juices of the land start flowing. The land starts to be productive. The land comes alive. If you go to the land of Israel today, it's even before the full revelation of Mashiach, you see there's life, everything, the productivity, the growth on all aspects. Everything is so full of life. And the earth, the soil is so productive. The best wines are made. Everything, it's unbelievable because the land wakes up. Okay? If the Jews are the soul of the land, so we understand the more Jews living in the land of Israel, the happier the land is, the more the land is brought out, its potential comes out. Now, this concept that the more Jews are in the land of Israel, the more more powerful the land is even a halacha. It's a halachic. It comes down to the world, to Jewish law. In other words, it's not just a nice midrashic or Kabbalistic concept, mystical concept. It's something that is in practical law. That is as follows. There are certain commandments which are related to the holiness of the land, which are only applicable when the majority of the Jews are living in the land of Israel. When we say the majority, we mean all the 12 tribes. Like the Jubilee year. Yovel, the Jubilee year, which was the great, awesome 50th year in Israel, was celebrated with a powerful, in a very incredible way, immense holiness, like holiness that is incomparable to any other holiness ever, is on the 50th year. That's why all the slaves are freed. All real estate goes back to the original owners. Everything returns to its source. It's an incredible holiness. Doesn't apply. Jews only kept that commandment when all Jews were living in the land of Israel during the first temple. In the end period of the first temple, when 100 years before the destruction, 100 or so years, when the 10 tribes were driven away, they stopped keeping the Jubilee because they only had 2.5 tribes left. Most of the Jews were taken away. Those Jews that were taken away during that time never returned in the second temple. They kind of got lost. We don't know where they are. Who is? Mashiach will reveal who they are. There's all kinds of suggestions that these and that, but so therefore, during the entire 20-year period of the era of the second temple, we did not keep that mitzvah. The Jubilee year was not kept because, in the words in Talmudic terminology, all its inhabitants need to live on the land. And when you don't have all its inhabitants on the land is. So therefore, hear the Rebbe's brilliance. Hear the expansiveness of the Rebbe's mind. The Rebbe says, okay. So was Israel ever in its full capacity? We'll say, yeah, in the days of King Solomon, in the days of King David. That's when all the Jews were actually living in the land. You had the full potency. So remember what we said earlier. First of all, we don't have, geographically, we only have 7. We don't have the 10th, the other 3. We'll soon see that the 3 represent the 3 powers of the brain. So Israel is just like a a body without a brain. We can imagine how weak that is if the head is missing. It's a body. But that's one thing. Physically, it's not there. But also spiritually, you think, okay, all the Jews are there, so the soul is there. The Rebbe says, now, what does it really mean, all the inhabitants? You fasten your seatbelt for this crazy thought. The Rebbe says all the inhabitants means all the souls. All the Jewish souls have to be in the land of Israel. For that, you need to have all the Jews who are ever alive in this world. You need all the generations. Even though halachically all the Jewish people have to be in the land, means all the Jews in any given generation, if they're all living in the land of Israel, all 12 tribes in that generation. But the Rebbe says spiritually, the real meaning means that only when you're going to have the reincarnation of the resurrection, and you're going to have every single soul that ever walked on the planet, all the Jews from all the generations to become resurrected, and everybody will go live in the land of Israel. That's when you're going to have the full nation, the full people there. And boy, oh boy, is the land going to be a land. Wow, what a land is it going to be? What a pumping, fusing. What a land. We have no idea what kind of blessing that land is going to be. And did that never happen? Are we there? No, I mean, we're there because Mashiach is about to come, but that's still before that happened. And since it's before that happened, we very much can identify with Abraham. When God tells us, Lech, go to the land, take conquest of the land, and you say, well, we did it already. We have it. We don't have anything yet. It's time to go take possession. So when we read it this week, we should get very excited. This is an awesome thing. We're told by God, go to the land and conquer it. We conquered it already. We didn't conquer it at all. We need to get all 10. We haven't gotten that. And we need everybody to come live there. So we need to inspire to get the resurrection going, to get everybody there. So this is very pertinent. It's not an old story. Because the story of Lech, that the main idea is that a Jew should come live in the land of Israel and conquer it and make it theirs, so that so the world has a base from where all godly light can come to the world. This project has hardly been done. We're just at the very introductory stage. So we're inspired by this week's Parsha to go ahead and do it. So what we've always thought we have already, the Rebbe is showing us we don't have anything. And it's all yet to come. So therefore, let's prepare for it. And therefore, the Rebbe says, Jews in all generations got excited in this week's Torah portion. Because when they heard when God says, Lech Lecha, and they expect Mashiach to come every moment, because we're supposed to expect Mashiach every moment, it made everybody, and it should make everybody excited, that God is telling us now, get ready to go to Israel to finish the job. To make it our land. As much as this should have excited the people in the earlier generations, because Mashiach could have come any moment, the Rebbe says in our generation, it should excite us a billionfold more. Why? Because going back to what we spoke in the last class of Noach, the Rebbe says, we've already established that Mashiach is about to come, that all the end dates have already passed. My father-in-law also notified, the Rebbe says, the previous Rebbe and himself, already told the world that we made tshuva already. We did repentance already. And according to all the signs, our generation is the last generation of the exile and the first generation of the redemption. So definitely, if everything was done already and we're ready to welcome Mashiach, so now we should all, for sure, when we read Parshas Lech Lecha, we need to have our suitcases ready to go. We need to be so ready to hit the road for all of us to go to the land of Israel so that we can really take possession of all of the 10 lands. We should start looking at the maps, not sounding like me, who sadly gets online over here on YouTube and has no idea where the maps are. If this is real to me, which it should be, because I'm teaching this, then why don't I know exactly where the map is? I'm saying I'm giving myself a little bit of a little musar, as we call it. The Rebbe is saying, be ready. So then you should know where the land of the 10 nations are. So he'll say, come on, in today's world, not only do you want to save Israel, the little tiny bit of Israel, you're still talking about taking huge swaths of land away from the Arabs that are living there now. You're talking about making even bigger problems. The Rebbe says that you don't have to worry about. Because when Mashiach will arrive and when Mashiach will be revealed in the world, we will not have to take it like Joshua with a war. The current residents of those lands will hand it over joyfully to the Jewish people. Isn't that beautiful? There won't be a war. It's not necessary. What's going on now is just because it's seconds before the revelation of Mashiach, so we're seeing a last grasp of the klipa. But once Mashiach is revealed, there won't be a trace anymore of evil. And the inhabitants who are living there now will be so excited to vacate, and they'll give the land to the Jewish people because they'll realize that this is to the benefit of everybody, including themselves. So we really need to be ready. We really should know where these lands are. We should know everything about them. And we should get ready to go do it because this is the preparation. And we should be just like when God tells Abraham to go, he was really, getting himself ready. What does he have to take? He did it the way he should do it. We should do the same thing. So just like the Rebbe says, it is regarding Lech Lecha, regarding the land of Israel, that what we thought we really have, we don't have yet. It's much bigger than we think. Same is also regarding the Torah. This that we said earlier, that the main download we've already received, and perhaps every year we try to answer the question. Or every day, or whatever it is, we get a little additions, and therefore we have to prepare for it, but it's not such a major thing. Rebbe says that's not true, because in addition to the extra Torah that God is giving us every day, the main infusion of Torah never was given, because the real Torah that is going to be given to the world, the Torah that Mashiach is going to teach, is going to be so much greater than all that. It's the same Torah, but the way Mashiach is going to open the Torah up and start squeezing out its secrets and revealing it, it's going to make all the Torah that we learned in the past look like peanuts, like little crumbs. And therefore, we haven't seen anything yet. And after Mashiach teaches us Torah, it will even go higher. God himself will teach Torah. And the Torah that God will teach. And as a result of that, yes, we've gotten the Torah, but we haven't even started to get the Torah. And therefore, we have to do Avram's work. We said Abraham's work was a preparation for the Torah. All that is now called for. We should all prepare for the Torah because the real Torah is yet to come. This is the idea. Bezrat Hashem, to understand this deeper and stronger, we'll tune in for next class. We are holding by chapter 8, which we should, Bezrat Hashem, complete. Bezrat Hashem tomorrow, another few. I'm not going to finish it, but maybe Friday we'll get to learn the last part as well. 3 parts. Thank you for joining. Mashiach be here now.